Welcome, everyone.
Thank
September.
you. Yeah.
Player control is the topic of the night. Player control is one of my favorites because it's kind of like block charge. It's not really the same, but a lot of principles of guarding go into it. But there's a few little caveats, and a lot of guys, for some reason, don't like to call player control fouls when they see them. So we're going to go through some videos and hopefully clear some things up. All right, let's start with maybe a simple one. Okay, got an out of bounds call. No player control foul. What do you guys think? I'm going to play it fast again, and then let's play it slow, and we'll see what we got. See anything there worth calling, or is that a pass?
I think he was pretty, I think he pushed off pretty good there. I think that was player control for sure.
Definitely right here is the action. Now, let's move back just a bit because partly we should talk about legal guarding position. Even though that doesn't negate the fact of what he did here, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit too, but he has a legal guarding position, does he not?
Oh, yeah.
He's just maintaining his position. So since he has a legal guarding position, and they could say, well, look, he's not even facing, he's turning to the side. He's maintaining his position, so he is still legal. But the dribbler, regardless of whether he's legal or not, cannot extend an arm and push him out of the way. That is illegal. That is an illegal act by the dribbler. It's not contact caused by a guard who is in an illegal position. It is contact caused by the dribbler. And that's what causes it or makes it to be a player control foul.
Okay.
We agree?
I do. And Josh, I think this is a very serious problem with us right now. There's old school that say, they're moving, they moved into them. They didn't, even though they had legal guarding. I've had several over the last 2 months, real issues. I mean, with really good refs, right? And I said, well, didn't he establish, his position? Didn't he establish legal guarding position? Yeah, but then, he moved this, that, and the other thing. And so they really shy away from either the charge or the player control. And I think we're missing it. I'm watching all this and I'm saying, well, the defensive guy is playing good defense. Why is he not getting rewarded for this?
I 100% agree. For some reason, officials, whether it's because we are scared to make a call that's not going to be popular, whether it is we don't understand the principles of guarding and the principles of player control of what a player who's dribbling can do, or maybe some other things. But we as officials collectively are calling way too many, either passing on fouls that are fouls, or calling fouls that are incorrect, because that's kind of the way it's always been. And the most common, Mike, to your point, response is, well, I didn't think he got there in time, or I thought he moved into him, or yeah, that's easy to say. But when you actually watch the video, you can see that that's not actually the case. If you understand the rule, then you can apply it properly. So that's kind of what happened here. I think they didn't call anything. Well, it was marginal. It didn't really cause any advantage or disadvantage or whatever it may be. And so then they pass on it. But let me go back to that again real quick, because there was a huge advantage. Do we not agree?
No, I agree wholeheartedly. The defense was displaced. There's no doubt.
He pushed him out of the way in just enough. Okay, yeah, we see the square. And just enough to give him some room so he can go up for a shot easier. Now, number 10 was there, so he was helping his defender out, but he pushed him out of the way. And now I can go up easier, as opposed to having a hand in my face, or maybe a hand to poke at that ball. That's a foul. And to say that it wasn't that big. And I'm not saying all pushes off are going to be player control fouls. I'm not saying that at all, because obviously we need to make that judgment. But we also have to judge, did they gain an advantage? And on that one, I think they did. All right.
I think that was a foul. My comment on that is a lot of times you're in the game. I saw the score 24-21. You're like, the guy slapped it out of bounds. I'm just giving it to you. I'm just, I'm just passing on that because,
Or maybe they missed it.
it's
Maybe they missed it and thought, well, I can't get it now.
That's right. And it's the old save a foul. It's not that egregious. I agree. The kid pushed off. He gained position by doing that. But I'm just looking at the devil's advocate, the refs that are out there. We're passing on that. I'm not saying it wasn't a foul. I think it was. But
All right. Let's play this next video. See what you all think.
14 points. Now it looks like Denton Rhodey had stepped up. Made Shockey.
No whistle on the play.
Made Shockey from 3.
What'd you guys think? It's
14
at the
points.
division line.
Denton Rhodey had stepped up. Made Shockey. Sends him on ice skates. Made Shockey from 3.
But then he put a shot up, did he not?
yeah.
And
That's-
didn't he push him pretty far?
Yeah, he did.
Looked
Yeah.
like it.
He created a big advantage.
Now let's talk about how do we get this? Because this is a situation where I could see it being hard for the Trail to maybe get this, right?
Stepped up.
Here, let me play this out. I'll play it slow, and then I actually drew this out a bit. I mean, he pushes them a good 6-8 feet away and then is able to put up a shot. So what do we got here? I'm going to pause it. The Trail is looking at the ball, right? Because that's his primary focus. Do we agree with that?
Yes.
Agreed.
Agree. Yes.
Should anybody
Yes.
at this point really be watching that play? No, not really, because the center is going to be watching these players here, right?
Right.
hmm
Okay, so then as the play progresses down, and it's now into the front court, the Trail, and I'm not going to fault him for being so far away. He's coming up. We all don't move that well all the time, or we trail the play sometimes, but he's still watching the play. But what kind of a view does he have?
Yeah.
He's stacked. Yeah, he's stacked. There's no possible way. I mean, it's going to be very hard for him to see the action that's happening right there in the red circle in between the players. Very hard. Now you can see that the player ends up getting pushed away, maybe in the end, but maybe he's not sure. Maybe Green just stopped very bluntly and White continued on. That's possible. But who could possibly get this?
See,
Right? C is watching these players, but
Okay.
since he's looking in that direction, he can almost definitely extend his view and not solely focus on this, but he can see the play. And I think center is in the best position to make this call. When this happens, the center should be able to come in and get that.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's parallel to him. Yeah.
And in my opinion, we cannot pass on a foul like that. That was a shove. I mean,
That's a foul.
he
That's a
pushed him
foul.
out of the way. Whether he went up for a shot or not is irrelevant to me. He shoved the kid out of the way. That's a foul. And if we don't call those in situations at the division line when they don't make a big deal, it's only going to continue and get worse. And then it's going to happen when it does make a big deal. And if you do get that one, maybe you'll get yelled at because you didn't call the 3 of them before. He's been doing that all game. You know, we hear that from coaches. So get those, especially those at the division line. Someone told me once a long time ago, not that any one foul is more important than the other. However, you want to get the fouls near the division line. The ones in the division line, you've got to get those. Why? Because that's usually where the camera has got the greatest angle. They're going to see exactly what happened. Right now, if you get down to the basket, there's going to be more players in the way. The angle is going to be a little bit different. That one you can get away with a little bit more. But at that division line, if you miss a big push like that, everyone's going to see that. All right.
It would have been worse if the guy made the shot. Right?
Agreed.
To IUPUI from 2014 to 2019. He played at
There
Arizona.
you
No
go.
whistle. No whistle.
That's even more egregious.
That is.
Yeah.
That's the
We're
worst
opening
one
the
yet.
door to that happening for the rest of the
But
game.
he's definitely got excellent position there, defensive
The
position.
The
He's got
center
legal
should be
guard.
able to, the center should be able to see that, right?
He's right there, yeah.
And he shoves him. That's how can a player fake that? I
Yeah,
suppose,
that's egregious. I mean, that's silly that there's no call there.
and I suppose
agree
it's
with-
possible you
I
could
agree
say,
with
oh,
that.
he put a lot of Hollywood into it, but I don't know. He
I don't
almost
know, he got him pretty high, Josh. I
Stop
mean,
that.
he almost
Watch
fell
number-
over on the floor.
Watch number 2's reaction in the white jersey.
He's looking for the call.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he doesn't understand. Why is he allowed to do that?
Yeah, number 32 too.
And we all know players, they cry for stuff and they don't, but they were right that time.
Times they're right.
Many times they actually are right. A lot of times we just don't see it. And many times the players do see it. And that's unfortunate. But yeah, if you see a player go like this, don't dismiss them right out the gate. Doesn't mean go back and say, okay, we got something. But all right, did I miss something? And use that. So when you get your video, hopefully after the game, you can go back and say, I remember those kids thought there was a foul. Let me check it out. That's kind of how I do my video. I remember specific plays. Now I go through the whole thing, to pick as many things out as I can, but there's usually 2, maybe 3 plays in a game that I really want to see that play. I want to see it again, either to validate that I got it right or to see the one if I wasn't so sure. I want to see that and see if I did get it right or maybe I got it wrong. Very rarely do I think I got a play wrong and I want to go back and validate that I got it wrong, but that happens sometimes too. So that one, that we can't pass on that. I know I'm going to say that all night tonight. We can't pass on those, but that was a bad one. All right. Here's a little bit different of a one. I think this is what I think it is. Yes. And this is kind of a fun one for me. I'm going to play it fast again, like we do, and get your opinion. I'm sorry. Look down to the post player right at the end of the lane in front of the lead. That's where we're focusing our attention. You see that? I'm going to play it slow. Elbow to the face. Official gets it. What do you think? Good call, bad call, not so sure?
Good
I
call.
mean, I don't think it was intentional, but I think it's a good call. I mean, he got him right in the shot, right in the face.
Yep.
He turned, his elbow got him in the face. I mean, that's a foul.
Okay, now let's see how he got into that position. Was it a basketball move? Who put themselves in that position? Right now, we've got here, okay? One stacked on top of the other. Everything looks nice and legal, yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The circles represent where the feet are. We're going to keep those there, and let's continue on. There's the elbow. His elbow is already sticking out at this point, and everyone is legal, right? Now, what is the positioning now? What did the defensive player do?
Grab him
He's
by the
moved
way.
up under him.
He went under his arm. He put himself in the position to get hit in the face.
Plus he's
What?
got his arm.
Now
Plus,
watch a little bit further. Does the blue player ever swing or move his elbow toward him?
Not really.
No, he holds it there because he's just waiting to get the pass.
He's calling for the ball.
That is not a player control foul. The defensive player caused the contact. He put his head into the elbow and it looked bad. And we all agreed that's one of my games. It wasn't my call, but that's one of my games. We all agreed as a crew that was a great call. You got that. You had to get that. And then we watch a video and I'm like, wait a second. That's not what happened. We have to be aware of, especially elbow to the head. We're all so alert, right? And so ready to get that because they've said for elbow to the head, elbow in movement, hitting above the shoulders. You got to get, but just because an elbow hits the face doesn't mean that the offensive player did anything wrong.
Yeah.
Most of the time it probably does, but not always. And we need to know. So it was kind of an unfair call in my opinion, but you guys agree or do you disagree? Do you see something different?
He had his arm around his waist too.
Yeah, he was holding him.
Yeah,
Right?
it was, again, I think it was a calculated move by that defensive player.
Distinct height advantage or disadvantage. So,
And maybe he wasn't trying to get hit in the face. Yes. And there's a height advantage for sure, which is why it hit him in the face. And I think the defensive player wasn't trying to get hit in the head, but he was trying to get around him, to defend him, but he put himself in that position.
Yeah, the defensive player looks like he was trying to front number 54 and he couldn't get around and got hit.
Right. But I don't think that the offensive player made any malicious or even unintentional movement toward the head.
I agree.
I agree.
So that's a tough call.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't, but I mean, the guy's little and he got him in the face. I mean, that is a tough call because you guys are right. But if I was under there, I think I would have called the same thing that the lead called there. I'm not saying that's just what I,
Gosh,
I mean, they want us protecting these kids getting hit in the face, right? So it's kind of back and forth there. I mean, it definitely, you're right. He didn't do anything egregious, but I probably would have been wrong on the call because I would have been calling player control.
Josh, you think the hold should have been called first on the defensive player with his arm wrapped around his back?
Yeah.
You mean when he was trying to get around?
Yeah, he's got his arm around his waist.
He's holding his hip for sure.
Maybe.
I don't think the lead had any way of seeing that.
I don't know. I probably still would have passed on that. Let me just pull it up again real quick because he wasn't really holding him. The offensive player was holding his position. He was waiting for the pass so he could make a move. Yeah, his arms were around him, but he wasn't really holding him or moving him or trying to, displace his position, right?
He got his arm on him, Josh.
He does have his arm on him, but what is he doing with that arm? He's not controlling that big player.
No, he's too big.
Right. So are you going to call a foul on that? I'm passing on that because he didn't do anything. Now, if that ball comes in and he holds even longer so he can't spin to the basket or move to the basket, then I got a foul. You're absolutely right. But up to that point, I've got nothing.
There's contact. Every contact isn't a foul. I'm passing on the whole play, like you said. But I'm saying the guy's got his hand on him.
Incidental contact.
Exactly.
And I know we can take a lot of latitude with that rule, but that rule is there for a reason. And in fact, I've talked about this a couple of days ago with a person who emailed me. When you read the rules book, you skip over the front section that says the purpose and intent of the rules. And the purpose and intent, there's like 5 paragraphs there to read. And the purpose and the intent of the rules is so that no one gets an advantage or it creates a disadvantage. So lots of times there's contact, but the purpose and intent of that rule is not to just call it, oh, I see it, boom, I got it. No, was there an advantage or a disadvantage gained? And yes, we don't rule necessarily on advantage, disadvantage, but we do. I know I just said both things. So all right. Let's do this one. All right. Now I should have played this one first before the other one. Remember at the division line, we said you can't pass on that. That one's not as bad. The official got this one. And he didn't even go up for a shot. He just turned around. But when you push a player out of the way, who's trying to just to stay with you and defend you, that's a foul. You're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, that kid sold it though. He was running away from the offensive player.
Okay, maybe so. But do we not
Ticky,
agree number
right?
10 shoved him?
Yeah.
Did number
shoved.
10 have to do that?
No, he
No.
could have easily
No.
gone around him.
No, why would you do that as a dribbler?
He was trying to create space.
Yeah,
Now,
exactly.
if you say, well, kind of ticky-tack, well, he was already in the, I don't disagree with all of that. But those are the ones, if you don't get there, they're going to get worse and worse. And then guess what? The one that you passed on that was bad, it's going to be on my next video. It's going to make its way because everyone's going to know, how do you pass on that? And they don't watch the game in totality, that you allowed it the whole game and it got to that point. And maybe to the coaches and the players and the fans, everyone watching, yeah, it wasn't a foul because it's been happening all game, but it is a foul. So we got to clean that up. All right. Right down the middle, right down the gut. Now, there's no sound on this one, but if you see, there's a double whistle on this. Okay, do you see at the bottom corner, the trail official has a fist up or was starting to have a fist up. And of course, your center also has a fist up. So we have a double whistle on this. And honestly, I'm okay with the double whistle because where does the foul happen?
Right in the paint.
Right where all three officials have their primary coverage area intersect. So I'm okay with the whistle, with a double whistle. That's fine. And nicely, the trail gave it up, didn't even try to come in because he knew there was a double whistle. That's wonderful. We need to understand and know when there's a double whistle so we know when we're taking it, when we're not taking it. However, this should have probably been the trail's call because it was in his area the whole way. Even though it was a transition, I get there's not really plays, but the center official calls a hold. Did we see a hold?
No. Forearm to the chest, but
They're
not a
both
hold.
moving in that direction. There's legal guarding position. Maybe a hand is on there for a hand check if you want to get an early hand check. Okay, maybe. I'm still passing on the hand check, but once he shoves him out of the way and he continues to move backwards so he gets an easy open shot to the bucket, that's a player control foul.
Hey, Josh, that I was on that game. I was a trail in that game. I had
That was your game?
Yeah, I had player control on that, but I thought the C was going to call player control. I was trail. I had player control on that, but I gave it up.
Hey, let's talk about that for a moment. That's actually a really good, that's not really a point, but many times we're in a game and we have a double whistle. And like I said, I've said before, I'm okay with most double whistles. Do we recognize whose it is, whose it isn't? Right? That's what's important. And so I go up and my partner goes up. Oh, okay, he got it. And I put my arm down and he has the wrong call.
Yeah.
Called it completely wrong. And I would have come in and sold it if I knew that. But, you know, a lot of times you just assume your partner is going to get it. At that point, you've got to let him take it and he's going to take whatever foul he takes, whether you agree with it or not. He obviously thought it was something else, but at that point, that's not one where you go tweet, let's get together and talk about this. No, that's not a technicality or something that you can talk about. That is his judgment. He made it. We're moving on. If a coach says to you, whoa, wait a second, you saw that? You saw that, you had it. What are you going to say? Yeah, I got it, but he screwed it up. I know this was last month. We talked about handling coaches, but no, you say he had a coach or it's his call, or he was at the best look, or a lot of times I'll say I had the same thing. Even though I didn't, we are a unit. Even though I think my partner may be the worst official in the world, I'm going to agree and back him up because the only way we're going to get through the game is if we stay as a team. So that's just a side note. So sorry he took that call from you, Tim.
Yeah.
Here's a good one.
Down from Prowl. Couldn't find anything to go with it, so why not hit it off the defender in front of you?
As Nix, a nice crossover there.
Okay, now we had no whistle on the play. I'm going to play it fast again. In fact, for those of you who have the sound that you can hear, the crowd goes, oh.
Yep.
From Prowl. Couldn't find anything to go with it, so why not hit it off the defender in front of you? As Nix, a nice crossover there.
What do you guys think? Here's the slow play.
That's hard to see.
Yeah, it is.
If
did-
anything, I'd say it was probably shoulder contact, because if you rewind, as he goes in, he kind of shoves him by the shoulder area if you look closely.
He doesn't hop back on his own. You think that's a normal move that a defensive player is going to do?
No.
No. So something made him do that. It was probably a shove. Now, I'm going to say this, for maybe someone else wants to say it first.
Crossover
but
there.
what do you got here?
Hand check.
He's putting two hands on the ball handler.
Hand check.
That's a foul. Why do you think he shoved him off? On this one, probably because get your hands off of me. Now, I'm not saying that that gives him the right to push him off. But, and I didn't talk to the officials on this game. I wish I would have, but I just pulled this one off of YouTube. But maybe the official saw the hand check and passed, which I probably would have passed to. And then he shoved him out of the way. And the official said, well, geez, the reason he shoved him is because he had his hands on him. So I'm going to pass on that one too.
Yeah.
I can understand that logic. And I'm actually even okay with that logic because nothing really happened after that. Now, if he shoves him, even if his hands are on him, then goes up for a shot and he's wide open now, I might call it because it doesn't, missing one foul shouldn't negate another foul. Although understanding how they're connected and how you're going to judge and pass on certain contact is connected, you still need to, every play needs to have its own judgment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, if you miss something, right, I mean, we got to go to the next one. I mean, we can't have it in our head.
Right. And the next one is a result of it. If it's bad enough, you're going to have to get it. And the coach could say, the whole reason that happened is because he had his hands all over him. And you could say, oh yeah, you're probably right, coach. Okay, maybe. Or what I like to say is that doesn't give him the right to just shove him out of the way. You know, that doesn't really help relations with the coach, but makes me feel better. All right. What do we think on this one? I'm going to play it fast again now that you know where the foul is.
And he's hooking them for sure.
That's a very good call.
I think he hooked them there.
Oh, yeah.
Now, what I want to say, first of all, is there are some times, let me pull this up. There are some times where a player will hook another player and it's not a foul because they didn't actually do anything. They put their arm around them, but they didn't hold them. They didn't move them. They didn't displace them. So we have to be careful. Or a lot of times with the elbow, you know, they'll do a spin around their player and it looks like they're using their elbow and they're not. So we need to understand that. That's not what I think happened here. On this play, what I think happened is a hook. And the trail got it. But here's what I don't like. Look at this, at the lead after the call is made. He nods his head, yes, gives the hooking symbol. Well, if he saw it and agrees with it, why didn't he blow his whistle?
I mean, he's 2 feet away.
Now, maybe he's providing support. He thinks his partner should have passed on it. He was passing on it, and he thinks his partner should have passed on it. But since he called it, maybe he's doing that. And then that's good if that's what he's doing. But if he was too timid to call it when he saw it, that's what gets me is if you see the foul and you know that it's a foul and there's an advantage, blow your whistle. have a little gumption. And if you're going to, you're going to get yelled at, then you're going to get yelled at, but that's not, your job isn't to try and get along with everybody. It's to, make the game as fair as possible. I know I'm putting a lot of conjecture and assumption into what's going through his head. I don't know what's going through his head. But that was what I saw was oh yeah, I got it. He hooked him. Oh, okay. Well, then it's your call. You blow the whistle.
Looks like he passed on it. Then
he was probably passing on it and providing support. That's going to be what I think he was doing. But anyway, it was a good hook call.
I would say his whistle was a little delayed because he was waiting to see if he was going to whistle it or not. And then he came in a little bit delayed to get it.
That's actually a good point, and I'm glad you saw that, because many times we do have to wait. The trail reached to get that call, and it's okay that he reached in that specific area. That's okay, but he waited a second, half a second, see his partner's not going to call it, and he got it. That should be our process every time we reach out of our area. Wait, give your partner a chance. He didn't get it. Okay, I'm going to come in and I'm going to get it.
Hey, Josh, I had a question on that one. So how much does displacement matter? So you've got the move, you've got the act of the hook, you've got contact or not. So to your point, you can reach for a hook and there may not be any contact because the defensive player moved or whatever happens to be. And then you've got the most egregious, which is displacement. So you're hooking, you're getting an advantage, and you're moving them. Is there levels to that, or is that not the right way to think about it?
No, there's definitely levels. And I think what I said before is kind of how you measure that. What was the advantage that was gained or the disadvantage that was created? And if that is there, then it's a foul, because the intent and the purpose of the rule, of the player control rule, is that they can't do this, or they can't do this, or they can't do this to gain an advantage, in order to give them a better advantageous position to either go up with the ball, maybe to just even to continue dribbling. You can't ward a player off to continue dribbling. If it gives them that advantage, then yes, you got to get it. We're all going to have different thresholds as to how much contact we're going to allow before we get that as a foul, right? Sometimes there's chicken fighting going back and forth. We're going to allow even a little bit more amongst our own mindset. So obviously, the bigger the displacement, the easier it is for us to get. And the easier it is for us to go, oh crap, I missed that one. Because sometimes it comes out of nowhere. But if you see big displacement, you should know, unless you don't know how he moved, you should have a foul. You should know, oh, he got moved because he got shoved or whatever. Maybe sometimes they get him with an elbow.
Even though there wasn't a big displacement, I think there was a restriction of defensive movement because that elbow was there and kept him from being able to get back to a better position, even though he didn't seem like he got really displaced.
In that hooking play.
He created a new angle for himself that protected the ball, and there was an advantage there, right?
On that hooking play, it wasn't bad. I'm going to say that. I probably could have passed on it too, but by putting his arm there, he was restricting, keeping his defender from attacking the ball, from getting to the ball. And so he was allowed to move around him much easier. And that's why that was a foul. All right. Good question. If it was, if you just called the way the rule book was written, anyone could officiate. That's not how it works. You got to be able to use your judgment as to what advantage was gained or lost. Okay, now these are getting a little bit easier. Easy one, right?
Very.
Look at the trail. Even the trail was going to get it. Now, should he have had it? No, and he gave it up. But because it started in his area, he kind of followed it. Maybe he shouldn't have been following it, but that's a play. If you don't get, your whole crew looks bad, and the trail knows it, and he's going to come in and help and get that, because it was kind of a late call. but the center
Yeah.
got it and he sold it and he was right. All right, everyone understand that? I'm not doing a great job of talking about how we come in and help out of our area, but that's a large part of player controls. If you see one out of your area and it's a big push, it should be considered a crew saver because everyone sees them shove them out of the way. You can come in and get that. You don't want to come 50 feet. You don't want to go, from kitty corner to kitty corner, but
Well, I think like what you said is, I mean, it started in his area, so he could follow it and then it's fine. That's,
all right.
I mean, not only that, but he even waited, to see if, the actual person had to call before he even blew the whistle. So that's why the delay.
And right away he put his hand down, although he started to signal. I don't know if coaches know this right away, but yeah, no, that was good. I thought all of that was good. And again, some of these we don't need to belabor because they're pretty easy, but he comes in, what does he do? Legal guarding position, shoves him out of the way so we can put up a shot. Now, we're not talking about signals or points of emphasis, but this is no longer a signal, right?
right.
That punch, but you can do it still. We're all going to do it, especially in the player control. It's more fun to, punch down, but just so everyone knows that this is the signal. That's it. That's all you need. And then you can point, we're going that way because you got to go the direction, but it's more fun, right? When you punch. Feels better. No whistle on this play.
He gave him a good shoulder there.
He pushed him 6 feet
That's a foul.
And he's wide open.
and he's wide open. He missed the shot, but he got a good look because he shoved him out of the way. That is a foul. Now, I understand the lead is stacked here. I'm sorry, the lead. The center is stacked here, but he should still be able to see that. Do we not agree?
He can see
Agreed.
that though.
It's
Yeah.
right in front of you. You've got to get that.
Yeah, he probably needed to take a step, down,
Up or
but
down. Yeah.
yeah, but that was pretty easy, actually.
Yeah. So again, back to the beginning, a lot of guys don't like to call that for whatever reason or not, but those are big advantages that they get.
That's a foul too.
Okay. Another one that's passed on. This is again, displacement.
Wow.
Garrett, to your point, you're going to get more grief, in my opinion, passing on that than you are calling it. All right. Now,
I mean, he had excellent legal guardian position there.
yeah,
for
no,
sure.
totally.
Yeah.
All right, let me play a few that may be marginal and maybe you all don't want to call based on the displacement or where it happens on the court. Player control foul or pass?
Pass.
Yeah, I think pass on
That-
that one.
All right, now I'm not going to say you're wrong, but what is he doing the whole way up?
Oh, he's definitely got his elbow, his arm out.
He's
arm
keeping
bar-
him
arm
away from
forward.
attacking the ball.
Yeah.
And
True.
by the rule, and I'm going to have to paraphrase because I don't have it right in front of me, but a dribbler is not allowed to use their forearm to keep a defender from attacking the ball. That's exactly what he was doing. Now, I probably would have passed on it too in this clip if you're assuming the game went as normal. But we might have to do more of a coach. He can't just hold him. Now, a lot of guys also dribble down like this, right? They dribble with their arm out. So we have to now determine, Are they keeping them from attacking the ball, or are they dribbling with their arm out? And that's where it gets a little more dicey. I would tend to agree with all of you. I'm probably passing on that unless something before that was continued on, or maybe you addressed. But that's a little more of a, okay, nothing really happened. Yes, he pushed him a little, but nothing really happened. So keep an eye on it. But now you know that dribbler, that player, maybe he has a tendency. So we get the one that matters. Make sense? A lot of times what we pass on should still become in my mind, I know this guy now, and he might do it again in the future. And if he does, I'm going to be ready for it. Now, this one was a player control foul called. What do we think?
Yeah, his arm's out for sure.
Yeah,
And he pushed him.
he extended the arm.
But where did he push him? He pushed him in the exact direction that he was already running and did not gain an advantage. It didn't look like the kid was necessarily attacking the ball. He was just running and guarding. I'm probably passing on this one. Now, again, I know we had some other ones that were kind of like this, and I said, we got to get that. What happened as a result, right? What happened as a result of the push? That also is going to go into consideration as to whether it's a foul or not. Now, the official called a foul, and he was right, 100%. That was a player control foul. But I think, again, taking this clip out of a big, long game, that's all we're seeing is the clip. That was relatively harmless and could have probably been passed on. And maybe, as a side note, hey, 32 or whatever his number was, don't push with that forearm. Don't extend that forearm. Just give them a little heads up. And some players, not all, take that. And, oh, okay, thanks, ref. And then they adjust. A lot of players can't, but the better players can.
Especially with my partner having such an amazing look right at it. I think I would have trusted in that one.
Well, he was right there. I mean, it wasn't on screen, but he was right there. And I'm assuming the lead had that angle that was looking right through where he saw the shove. So again, I'm not faulting him for calling it. Just one of those ones where it falls in the marginal category for me, where it could or could not be. No whistle on this one. Now, again, nothing really happened. But in this, in my opinion, and I know these are all splitting hairs, these plays, splitting hairs as to whether you do or don't. He displaced him quite a bit more from a stationary almost position and then moved him a good 4 feet. So I don't know. I think that one I might have called. What do you guys think?
Well, if you let that go, then the next one's going to be worse. And then the next one's going to be worse than that. I think I'm calling that.
He's pretty aggressive with that push.
Okay, so
you got to call that one.
So you see what I see is that was more of a get out of my way.
Yeah.
And less of a we're both going down and kind of right. So
I think probably the reason why it wasn't called is where it was, and you know, he got an advantage, but he didn't take advantage of it. I mean, he stopped and then he just was going to pass it. But I think it was pretty egregious, that push.
I've actually got another question. I'm the new guy on the call, so I'm curious what others think too on this, Josh. But what's the relationship between the act itself and the location the act takes place? Either proximity to the rim or proximity to a good look at the basket. How do you guys think about the relationship between those two things?
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
And those, for a new guy, I don't want to put too much in your head because It's a little higher philosophy of what should I pass on, what shouldn't I? And it's something that you should be thinking about as you're moving up, but don't put too much thought into it, because that's going to come after you more games. You're going to know what you're going to allow and what you're not. But to try and answer your question, proximity of the play does come into play sometimes, but for the most part, it does not. If I shove a player, I don't care where it is. It comes down to kind of what Mike was saying on the last one. It's a forceful shove. He really meant to shove him. There's no other way to say, oh, well, okay, maybe he was stopping and, or maybe he was just, that's the way he's dribbling. You can see that's what he was doing. Then you really need to get that foul. And if it happens at the beginning of the game, much better to get those, because you're setting the tone of what you're going to allow. If it gets to the end of the game, you need to get it, because you don't want the game to be decided by allowing something illegal to happen. When you hear guys say, we don't want to decide the game. If you pass on a foul because you don't want to decide the game, guess what? You decided the game because you passed on illegal activity. So to be consistent, set the tone early, but also, even if it hasn't been called all game and it's at the end, you got to get it, because if it's a foul, it's a foul. Does that help? I know, again, I speak out of both sides of my mouth. Someone called me out on it once, saying, well, you can't say call the way the rule is written and then say, well, you don't need to call it the way the rule is written. But that's the gray. 80% of officiating is gray. I know what the rule says. I know how to apply it. I know what it looks like when I see it. But I also know that not every time that it happens, is there an advantage gained or was a disadvantage created? Because that's the intent and the purpose of the rule. The rule is so each team gets a fair playing field to play the game equally. That's what it's for. Does that help at all?
Yeah, that helps. I mean, basically what I'm hearing from you is action first, location second, in general.
Yeah, no.
On this deal right here, I think if that 24 shot the ball, I bet you they would have called a player control. But he stopped. I mean, there was really no, even though there was an advantage, he didn't take advantage of the advantage. So I think a no call was okay, but he definitely pushed him.
I think that is actually a great way of putting it. The action comes first. I have ruled that action is illegal, and that's a foul. But wait a second, what happened after the action, or where did that action happen? Okay, now I'm going to allow it because it didn't really make an effect. Yes, it was a foul. Because of that specific situation, it's not a foul. That's kind of how officials work each play.
Hey, Josh, I want to make a comment on that play because that was me again.
Are you kidding me? I got all your games on here.
No, that was me. I took a pass on that call, and I remember it, and I because you remember a lot of your calls, and I said to myself, hey, that was a foul, okay? The kid's way out there. And then I said to that big kid in the game, he's the biggest kid on the floor, I said, don't do that anymore. He said, what? I said, you know what I'm talking about. Because he was in the paint. So that was me. And in my own mind at the time, I remember I'm like, that's a foul, but I passed.
Now, did he know what you were talking about?
Oh yeah.
Or did you read his facial expression going, oh really? He doesn't have a clue.
I'm like, don't do that anymore.
I know sometimes, and I do that sometimes. Hey, knock it off. Whoa, what?
Yeah.
What, ref? You know what I'm talking about. But sometimes if you can read the expression, some of these kids, they really don't have a clue.
Oh
They
yeah.
could say, hey, I'm talking about the shove. You shoved them with your forearm. Don't do it again or I'm going to have to get it. And that's okay. Some coaches will say, stop coaching my kids, just call the fouls. But that's preventative. You could say something to try and help not call a foul. The coach might yell at you, but he's actually going to appreciate the fact that you didn't call a foul. In fact, he might not think it was a foul to begin with. So, all right. Let me show one or two more, and then. All right. Player control foul was called. I know it's not the best angle.
Yeah, that's hard to see, but I definitely think there was a little shove there.
Let's make the assumption that The official was 100% correct. He shoved him, even if it was a little bit, and he got that distance, right? He created space to get that shot off. All right, let's say that's 100% what happened. I know we can't see great, but look at the time and the score of the game in the bottom right corner.
Oh, geez.
First of all, it's 20-point game with 3 minutes to go.
Oh, okay.
And we're almost double bonus both ways. Do you think you could have passed on that foul?
For sure.
That was
Yep.
marginal enough that if you had passed on that, no one, and I'm talking no one except me, is going to find that clip and say, oh, you missed a foul there. Nobody, because it was so marginal. I'm not saying it wasn't a foul. I think he got it right. I think it was. But in a 20-point game with 3 minutes to go, that's not a foul.
Amen.
You want to get out of there.
Now, I know a lot of guys get upset and say, yes, but we shouldn't officiate time and score. And I agree. Time and score shouldn't be a factor, but it should be.
But
When
we
you've
do.
got a blowout, that other team getting blown out does not want to, they don't want to keep getting fouls and fouls and fouls. They know they're getting beat. Help the game get over. Get the obvious ones against the team that's winning. Pass on some of the marginal ones that then the team that is losing. Doesn't mean pass on fouls. Doesn't mean make things up. It just means be a little more selective, because the outcome with 3 minutes to go, 20-point game, has already been decided. Right?
Right.
You think any
Yep.
high school team is going to come back 20 points with 3 minutes to go?
And that's where, it's art versus science, right? I mean, that's up to us to figure that out.
And
It's
I know
not easy, but
No,
it,
it's not easy at all.
You can see the coach react to it.
Oh,
Puts his hands on his
did he
head like,
react?
"Shh." Oh yeah.
Was he happy or not happy?
He didn't look happy.
I'm going to play it again because he was losing.
He's
He's just defeated, right?
He is. He's deflated right there.
And that's what I'm talking about. He wasn't upset because it was a huge call and you got it wrong. He wasn't yelling and screaming. He was just like, another one. We're already losing 20 and now you got to get that one, right?
yep.
Exactly.
So just use your brain and know that the rules are written, and the rules are written for us to apply fairly to everyone. But the rules, again, maybe we've said this before, they're like a rubber band. They apply in a situation like this, but if you twist it over here like that, it's applied a little differently. And then wait, if you twist it like this, it's malleable to the situation in the game. We are supposed to be the keepers of a fair game to everyone. So it doesn't mean I got that foul on that team all day, but the other team, I'm going to let it go. Yeah. Okay. So now you're doing it incorrectly. Now you're doing it in a way that is not fair. But if you pass on that in that situation every time, or for both teams equally, that's why we get paid the $67 a game or
We
whatever.
don't know what went on the whole game either. I mean, if this has become a very physical thing, which blowouts can get very dangerous at that point, then yes, I'm going to lay a whistle on that, and we're going the other way to make sure we're controlling everything.
Well, and that's a good point. And we've said that in other meetings as well. We are taking a snippet out of a game. We don't have full context. That kid may have been shoving all game. He may have even just warned that kid, the play before something. And it's like, I'm going to get that because you don't want to listen to me. We don't know that. So yeah, I'm not faulting the official for making the call. I'm making a generalization for how can we handle this and make everyone as happy as, right? Because we want
Agreed.
people to be
Yeah.
happy.
Make everybody happy.
Everybody.
All right. So how do you guys feel about player control fouls? Does it seem a little more obvious? I know I've showed some very obvious ones, but some of the very obvious ones, as you see or saw, aren't getting called. And I don't know why. They're obvious. Everyone who watches the video knows, like, wow, so we've got to call. We've got to have more fortitude, make the call, go with it, because it's not going to be popular, but it is what it is.
I think sometimes on those ones that are so obvious that we as officials get caught off guard. Like, oh man, I can't believe that guy pushed that guy like that. But you have to be ready,
That totally happens. And I agree. That happens to me too, where you go, oh, now hopefully in a varsity game with 3 guys on the game, that doesn't happen, right? I
Agreed.
miss it, but my partner gets it and comes in strong and gets it. So somebody, that's why it's a crew saver, because it happens everybody. Like, oh, why didn't I blow my whistle?
Agreed.
Oh yeah, okay, great call. So we got to help each other out. Now again, don't reach 50 feet away, but know when you should. Maybe we'll have a meeting on that once. Know when you should to come over and know when you shouldn't and stay back. Know whether the foul that just happened is worthy of coming out and reaching, or whether it's marginal. And even if you saw that it was a foul, it happened right in front of your partner, it's going to hurt your crew more if you call it than if you pass on it.
Good point.
All right. Any other questions before we end? It is 8 o'clock. That's 1 hour. I try to stick to my hour. I do want to mention, if you have a question, you can interrupt, but I do want to mention this t-shirt I have on here. All right. Nice and big. I've had a couple people ask, how can I get one of those? Because that wasn't on the initial shirt offering. And if you're watching this on YouTube as the recording and you want a shirt, email me, ask me how to get one. I'll send you I think they're $20. There might be a shipping if I have to ship it to you, in Nevada. But if you're interested in one of these or one of the collared ones that I wear in a lot of my stuff, email me and we'll see if we can get it to you, because
Yeah, sounds good.
I can't read your mind if you want it.
Josh, you just got here. Show one more video, please. Anything?
Frank,
One more.
One
All
more
right.
video for Frank.
I'm gonna have to start making these go start at 8 o'clock for you.
I made it.
Hey, For some of us, it's already 8 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock.
Oh, the East Coasters.
Give Frank a video.
All right,
Yeah.
Frank,
Thank you.
here we go.
By someone not named Goody, Lawyer, or Simmons for Homestead.
We got a whistle on the play, but for a shooting foul. What happened before that? Did you guys see that?
Freaking,
Threw a shoulder in him.
as it looked like shoulder or elbow.
Yeah,
Created space.
he threw his elbow. Now, the lead is a bit straight lined. Maybe he can't quite see that he's pushing off with that elbow. I'll give him a pass on that, because that's going to be hard to see the displacement. But who can see it?
The center should have that.
The center can totally come in strong on this. And this is what I'm talking about, helping our crew out and get that. And in my opinion, that is a foul that has to be gotten. These elbows are where they displace them out of the way. That gives them create space so they can go up for an easier shot.
That's a foul.
You agree with that one, Frank?
Yeah. Well, how would you signal that though? Because if I the book, if you use the elbow signal, that's just the call you make. That's was that turnover, right? That would be a violation. It'd be a violation if you do this signal. So how would you signal? It would just be player control.
Yes, player control.
It would be a player control. So
Yeah.
you would put your hand over,
Yeah.
we talked about that earlier, how the punch is gone. Usually when you do a charge, because this is charging now in the book, which is stupid. I don't know why. This used to be charging. Then they got rid of charging and just made everything player control foul. And then they put charging as this, which charging is pushing through another body, I suppose. But my point is, we all do this on a charge, but this is the signal. So
yeah, when I get to the table, that's what I use.
okay,
That's-
so
Yeah.
so at your prelim, you go boop, player control. All right. And then you go to the table, you report 13 or whatever it is, player control. He hooked him. This isn't a signal, but you already gave your signal. Now, if you want, you don't have to. If you want to give extra so the coach
Okay.
knows what he did,
Okay.
that's good. You're giving additional information. And,
Yeah.
and I know some may say you're not supposed to do it at all, but
Yeah.
this is the signal and I just gave it. But coach, he did this.
Okay. Thank you.
This is different than this, right? Elbow up is the violation. I know they're very similar, but all right, one more for you, Frank. I feel bad.
Okay. All right.
Wow, this is my game, and I missed this. You guys see it? It happens right there in the middle. I'm going to do the fast again first. This is a foul. And you're starting to see more of this in games. At least I am. The dribbler comes in and takes the hook to hold the defender away as they move around him. You see the players like, what the?
Yep.
That is a foul. We got to get that foul. I was the center on this play, so I take full responsibility of missing it. And honestly, it was one of those, after I passed on it, I said to myself, oh, I should have got that. Happens to everybody.
Yep.
Why didn't I blow my whistle? That's a foul. But, then you pass it. You can't go back too late. Yes, a late whistle is okay, but once you wait so long, it's over, right? I mean, in my opinion, it's like 3 seconds. 3 seconds is a long time. 2 seconds is probably too long for me as well. But if you're past 3 seconds, you better not be going back, because you could justify it and you could tell the coach, but you're going to put yourself in a real hard spot by calling it that late.
Yeah, you can do that about once a year.
It was your game, Josh. Is that why the contact on the shot was probably passed on?
Oh, contact on the shot. I don't know. Let me see. That's not what this clip is about, Jeff.
I know, but I figured it's your game. Might as well ask, right?
There we go.
All right. You say on the shot there was some contact.
Oh,
okay. So
I saw that. Yeah, I was wondering if I thought that's what the call was.
One good pass deserves another. Is that the other one?
Well, he blocked the ball.
Look at that. My clip ends right before he gets fouled. So I guess he didn't get fouled.
Yeah, there you go. I got it. I'm with you.
Let's see. So in my opinion,
He blocks it.
see if I can pause.
I think he gets the ball potentially.
He kind of hits him there, right?
Yeah. But
I would agree with you. He kind of hits him on the arm, but did that affect the shot?
No, because I think he blocked that. I think he actually would have had ball contact prior.
Josh, aren't you allowed to hit the hand like that? Like if the only thing that defender touched, number 25, isn't that legal? I mean, it didn't really. Well, it kind of got his wrist.
Kind of took the whole forearm backwards.
All right.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
So I'll answer both of those, but he went up, the ball was released, and he followed through and hit him on the arm. Let's say he even hit him pretty good and allowed Jim easy to pass on, because nobody hears, when you hear a smack, it's a little bit harder to pass on, but it didn't affect the shot. It didn't displace the player. It didn't cause the player to fall down. It was a pass, in my opinion. I'm going to pass on that all day because it didn't do anything. Whether he hits the ball or not on a block doesn't make any difference. It's not like football where if you tip the ball on a kick, you can run into the punter because it's been tipped now. That's not how it works in basketball. But that hitting it was a marginal hit and it didn't affect anything. So that could be a pass. If you called it, you would be right, but you're really now, that was what's, in my opinion, called a tic-tac foul. Yeah, he hit him, but the ball went up, especially in boys. I don't know if girls are that much different, but in boys, they want the ball to go in for 2 points. They don't want to foul. That stops the game. And I got a free throw, right? Everyone likes the free throws, but they want to play. They want to get up in front. That's a shot and marginal contact. Does that help?
Oh, absolutely. Because my point of him getting the ball contact is even that the ball was out of his hand before.
It was out of his hand.
Before.
And it wasn't just out of his hand. It was pretty
it was
far
out.
away from his hand already. Now, Frank, to your question, yes, the rules do say that you can hit a player's hand if their hand is touching the ball. If you are attempting to play the ball and you hit the hand instead of the ball, and the hand is touching the ball, that's legal. That is not a foul. And I had a coach yell at me once, like, I heard that smack from here. How can you not call that? And I explained to him, Coach, if I hit the hand while it's on the ball, it can make a huge smack, but it's not a foul. It's legal.
Yeah. Okay. That's all I was just curious about. Thank you.
But if it's not touching the ball, you can't smack the hand.
Right.
Now, again, you have to use your judgment as to whether it had something to do with it or not. But, well, that's a good pickup, Jeff. Wow.
It's easier on slow-mo. I mean,
Well, that's true. And in my demise, when I clip something for a specific rule, I usually don't see everything that happens before or after because I'm so focused on player control or illegal dribble or whatever. Oh, he totally traveled. Like, oh yeah, I see that now. So, all right, I guess that's it, guys. We'll be back again in October. Does anybody know what we're talking about?
Correctable errors.
Correctable errors. October 21st, 7 o'clock still, Frank. Can you make 7 o'clock? And I've got one video where there's actually a correctable error that we're going to go through and talk about. Most of the videos, I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do it yet, but we're going to have more conversation about it than like, look at this video and they missed that. And because how many videos do you have of correctable errors? It doesn't happen very often, but it's important we know what it is, how to handle it, because if it does happen to you, you don't want to be, scratching your head and talking. Yeah, we want to talk on the court with our partners so we get it right. But when you're out there for over a minute, it looks bad, right? So we need to know so we can move quickly. So that's what we're going to talk about. So thanks for coming.
I appreciate you. Thanks, guys.
See you next month.
Take it easy, guys. Hey, you made it to the end of this video, which means it's time to hit those subscribe and share buttons. Also, please consider making a donation and help keep this channel running with the best basketball rules video training anywhere. I'll see you in the next one.